Miss F, do better. Okay, now we'll hear from Dan.
The big controversy brewing in this district is not about pronouns and it's not about bathrooms. The big controversy is about all 5 board members approving the ongoing practice of concealing important student information from their parents. Now, this survey that was sent out this last couple weeks is one of many. It is a stark reminder of how this practice has been consistent over the last few years. 2 years ago, Orange Grove Middle School Principal Mark Rubin-Tolles blasted out a list of 10 student names to instruct his staff specifically not to tell the parents of those kids something personally important about their mental health. And I've been fortunate enough to be face to face with some of those parents. And I see real sadness in their eyes, like really trauma, not because of pronouns and not because of bathrooms. It's because of a real deep sense of betrayal. They've been hurt and they've been lied to, and they've all confirmed to me, all the ones I talked to, that this information's been withheld from them. And so I'm coming to you now, not with a agenda item, but to ask a procedural question. Is there anything procedurally that would stop you or prevent the board from discussing at the next meeting a policy to stop hiding important student information from their parents? Ms. Member, do you know of anything that would stop procedurally?
Yeah, we're not going to be interacting. This is a public comment time for you to make your comments, but it's not an interactive situation as described in our public comment rules.
Is that a procedural issue you just said?
I'm just reiterating the public comment rules, that there's not a back and forth during public comment. We're happy to listen to what you need to say.
Thank you.
Okay?
Sorry guys, I tried.
Okay. Our next speaker is Nicholas Lockwood.
Thank you guys for letting me come up here and speak again. We actually just had a conversation, if I remember correctly, a couple weeks ago about the same survey that the speaker before me discussed. And I'm trying to remember the Arizona resolution, he was talking about what would prevent a teacher or a district from actually talking to the parents about the kids. And to me, it's all about, well, what would those parents do? No teacher, no district member, no board member will be able to actually say what happens if they give this information to the parents. Me, I'm lucky. I actually get to talk to my kids, and I actually know what goes through their minds. So to me, it's not your fault, it's not a teacher's fault, it's their fault for not discussing it with their kids first. And so I'm done with this conversation. That was 2 weeks ago, we already talked about it, let's move on. Faux outrage, over. The last one that they were talking about was about a teacher and about a sign in the kid's room. That teacher, my kid goes to that teacher, first period. I'm not gonna dox him like you guys would, but I will say one thing, that teacher makes my kid want to go to school. That Orange Grove teacher that you guys are so mad about a sign makes my 6th grader so happy. So I understand parents are upset that you don't want to give them this information. Talk to your own kids. It's not your job.
Okay.
Alex.
Our next speaker is Michelle Lesprong.
Good evening. Once again, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am a mother of an elementary school girl in this district. I have attended the last 6 board meetings. A meeting I attended in April had about 200 in attendance with every single seat filled, people standing on the sides, in the back, in the foyer, filling up the entryway. The 3rd meeting was limited to 113 occupant capacity. However, there were still many more people standing outside in a line that extended around the building. There were many, many people here. Despite not being allowed in the room, many people stayed for hours outside listening to the meeting online. The next meeting was online only. Even so, there were people who showed up in person to visibly show how important these issues are to them. The main topics covered by speakers during these meetings were: number one, whether the fact that a child identifies as trans should be withheld from parents by a school. Number two, whether it is appropriate for trans students to share bathrooms or locker rooms with kids who do not identify as trans. And three, whether certain reading material describing sexual acts is or would be appropriate for minor kids. These topics have brought out hundreds of parents, students, and taxpayers over the last few months to board meetings. I've seen parents stand in this very spot on each side, pleading with the board, fighting back tears to address these concerns. My question is this: given the clear, passionate concerns of hundreds of taxpayers, parents regarding these issues, why haven't they been put on the agenda? Is it not part of the function of the board to address these types of concerns? If so, what's the justification for not doing so? Is there any other governing board or authority who can better assist these hundreds of people? My understanding is that each of you were elected to do so. If I am wrong, please let us know who should we be addressing instead. Last and again, I again say this every time, I see a very capable looking sheriff deputy here, actually two of them, at every single board meeting that I have attended. I completely support this decision. By the same rationale, please have one at each of our schools to protect our children as well.
Our next speaker is Jacqueline Davila.
Good evening. I'm a CFSD district resident, parent, volunteer, and proud supporter of public education. I would like to speak to my recent experience with the CFHS Counseling Department and the work the CFSD Governing Board is doing in funding our counselors. My daughter is a graduating senior, and as she begins to finalize her path beyond high school, I found myself at the CFHS Counseling Office for the very first time. It was extremely easy for my daughter to schedule her and myself for a meeting with a counselor. I was pleased and frankly surprised we were able to schedule the meeting in a timely manner within a few days. Upon entering the counseling department, I experienced a warm and welcoming environment, one that would put any student or parent at ease. Our meeting was held right on time, our concerns were addressed, and our counselor committed to finding out definitive answers about our questions regarding merit awards at the U of A and the Flint Scholarship process. Imagine my surprise when over the weekend, I received a prompt follow-up email with more information, with a further commitment to follow up with the U of A again, in order to get better, more definitive answers to our questions. I understand that as a result of the state's failure to adequately fund public schools, Arizona ranks last in the nation for counselor to pupil ratio. How can we expect our students to excel if they do not have adequately staffed counselors behind them? I appreciate the resources the CFSD Governing Board is putting toward counselors despite the funding challenges of doing so. I feel this is an indication of our district's commitment to education and student well-being. I understand some of the pandemic funds used to expand school counseling programs are set to sunset at the end of this year. I can only conclude funding for counseling services will become more scarce in our state and thus our district. I hope the governing board will be able to maintain appropriate funding for counseling services in the future. Thank you for your time.
All right. Our next speaker is Bart Pemberton.
Thank you. This is a blow-up of one of the poster that's in at least one of the classrooms at CF or in the district. I believe this one's at Orange Grove. I just want to know if the board thinks this is an appropriate thing to be in classrooms, and would the board feel it appropriate to have something that, let's say, had an opposite political message? Would it be as welcome and tolerated? Then related to the surveys that were handed out, I sent an email asking a few questions, but I haven't received a response yet. So I would like to know, were there in fact other surveys handed out? Because I've heard from other parents that their children received other handouts, and we were told that there were no other surveys done other than the one we had that Dan was showing earlier. folder, so I'm just curious, were there other ones handed out? Who keeps those? How many, we would like, I think the residents, the district residents should be able to view all of these surveys. If there's nothing wrong with them, everybody should be able to look at them. Not the answers, of course, but what was given and when and by whom. And also, who keeps the answers to these questions? And who has access to it? And if parents want to find out, who do they ask? So I think these are things that we need to know. And finally, maybe you're tired of hearing about it, but we just haven't received an answer. There was a threat where you guys closed down the in-person meetings. Where was the threat, and what FBI information did you get or give? Thank you.
And it looks like at least right now our last public comment is from Keith Cooper.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board. I became aware of the Getting to Know You survey distributed to students at the high school. Survey inquired about preferred pronouns, about keeping it secret from parents. Secondly, inviting the students to have a private conversation and follow-up. I think the teacher was probably simply trying to identify the students in a particular community. My issue is not with the teacher, and I expect the principal probably has had a conversation and follow-up with the teacher and it's taken care of. What I would like to discuss, express here is that you all are responsible for the culture and the tone set in the district. Did the teacher get the memo that keeping secrets from parents and hiding information isn't okay? Is it common for staff in this district to lead students to believe that adults, staff, will keep secrets and information hidden from parents? What message is implied to the students who receive this survey and ask a question, do you want to keep it from your parents? How many other classes did this occur? You've said many times that you don't keep secrets or hide information from parents and would tell them if they ask. Is there a central database? Everyone reports information that staff has gathered. Does anyone monitor the surveys, the Getting to Know You surveys, and document the responses? Who do parents ask? Every staff member, or who has that information? The one sentence I found most offensive was the one soliciting a young person to have a private conversation under the guise of not telling the parents. That crossed the line for me. Would you be okay if your kid's soccer coach asked personal questions that will be kept from you as a parent, and then ask the kid if they want to have a private conversation, follow up about that? How about your neighbor, friend, anybody else? There's a culture in Catalina Foothills where principals and teachers are saying they will hide or keep information from parents. There's a culture where the most important thing a teacher may ask in a Getting to Know You survey is preferred pronouns. There's a culture where staff are asking to have private conversations with their students. I think it should stop. The culture, the tone set by you guys. Thank you.
Just checking with you, Paula, nothing else? And we have nothing online according to my iPad. So I think we're going to go ahead and bring our public comment section to a close this evening and move on with our agenda. Just a second here. All right. We're moving on then to our consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they wish to pull or discuss or highlight on